She didn't know it yet, but buckling her children into their car seats that morning was the last thing she would ever do. Less than 60 seconds later, a quiet street turned into a firestorm, and the man she was trying to escape from made sure no one got out alive. This wasn't a crime of passion, it was planned, and every warning sign was already there. Before we continue, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. This is Crime Hall. The morning began quietly in the coastal city of Red Haven, the kind of calm that tricks you into believing nothing bad could possibly happen. Maya Lewis was running late, just like any other parent juggling work, school schedules, and exhausted mornings. She buckled her 3 children into the back seat of her SUV, kissed each of them on the forehead, and started the engine. She never made it to the end of the street. A man across the road, rinsing soap from his driveway, suddenly heard screaming, raw, desperate screams that didn't sound like an argument or a bad morning. A second later, another driver slowed down, confused by what he was seeing. Woman stumbling out of a car, her clothes already burning, fire racing across her body. Then came the explosion. Within seconds, smoke swallowed the street. Neighbors ran outside. Someone grabbed a hose. Someone else screamed to call emergency services. And as flames climbed higher, Maya's voice cut through the chaos, crying out for her children. Standing beside the car was Evan Reed, the children's father, holding empty fuel containers. This was not an accident. This was the final act of a nightmare that had been unfolding for years. Maya Lewis was born on August 3r, 1990, raised in Red Haven by parents who described her as warm, driven, and fiercely protective of the people she loved. She had a laugh that filled rooms and a habit of taking care of everyone before herself. From a young age, she dreamed of becoming a mother. She loved structure, routines, and stability, things she would later realize mattered more than she ever imagined. She excelled in sports, eventually coaching children's fitness classes while studying early childhood development. Friends described her as someone who saw the best in people, even when they didn't deserve it. That tendency would cost her everything. Maya met Evan Reed at the community fitness center where she worked. He was older, confident, and carried himself like someone who needed to be admired. Evan talked openly about his past as a competitive athlete, though records later showed his career never reached the level he claimed. What people did notice was his temper. Evan had grown up in instability. Family members would later describe him as volatile even as a child, controlling, possessive, and deeply threatened by rejection. He had already been married once and had a son from that relationship. That marriage ended under disturbing circumstances. His ex-wife later revealed that Evan stalked her, monitored her movements, and once implied that if she ever left, no one would be safe. She stayed longer than she wanted to because she was afraid of what he might do. When Evan met Maya, he told her the marriage was basically over. Within months, it officially was. The pattern repeated. At first, Evan was attentive, almost too attentive. He wanted to know where Maya was at all times, who she talked to, what she wore. When she didn't reply fast enough, he accused her of hiding something. When Maya became pregnant with their first child, Evan reacted with anger, not joy. He told her she wasn't ready, that she'd ruin his life, that she owed it to him to think logically. She kept the baby anyway. They married soon after, and the control intensified. Evan demanded access to Maya's social media. Eventually, he insisted they share one account, so there would be no secrets. He recorded her phone calls without her knowledge. He isolated her from friends, criticized her family, and punished the children when Maya tried to assert independence. If the house wasn't spotless, toys were thrown away. If Maya pushed back, Evan disappeared with the kids for hours. Fear became normal. Their oldest daughter, Lena, was sharp and observant. She noticed how her father spoke to her mother and began defending her at a young age. Evan hated that. Their second child, Iris, was quiet and gentle, often stepping between arguments, trying to calm her father down with hugs and soft words. Their youngest, Noah, adored his mother completely. He cried whenever she left the room. Maya worried constantly about what the children were absorbing. By the time Maya reached her late 20s, she was exhausted. Evan controlled every aspect of her life, including intimacy, finances, and parenting decisions. She began documenting incidents privately, terrified that if she confronted him openly, he would escalate. Eventually, she reached out to a family violence support service. They helped her make a plan. One December afternoon, while Evan was out, Maya took only the essentials, picked up the children, and went straight to a trusted friend's home. She left her phone behind, convinced Evan was tracking it. The next day, she moved in with her parents. Evan lost control. Evan bombarded Maya with messages, apologies, followed by threats. He told her she was traumatizing the children. He told her parents she was unstable. He showed up unannounced, let himself into their house, and refused to leave. When Maya finally contacted police, she hesitated to file for protection. She feared provoking him. That fear would prove justified. During a custody exchange days later, Evan suddenly grabbed one of the children and sped off. Police were called, but without formal orders. They were limited in what they could do. That night, Evan issued ultimatums. Authorities eventually stepped in and issued a temporary protection order. Evan was barred from contacting Maya directly, but the system moved slowly. Evan attended counseling sessions, presenting himself as the victim. Notes later showed no comprehensive risk assessment was conducted. Despite repeated warning signs, stalking, fixation, threats, he was not considered an imminent danger. Maya, meanwhile, told friends she was afraid Evan would kill her. She said it out loud. The night before the attack, she told her mother she needed to write a will. On the morning of February 12th, Maya followed her usual routine: gym, coffee, breakfast with the kids. One last hug from her mother before school drop-off. At the end of the street, Evan appeared. He forced his way into the passenger seat holding fuel containers. Maya screamed. She drove only a few meters before stopping near a neighbor. She ran. Fire followed. Evan ensured the fuel was placed where the children sat. He then stabbed himself as the car burned. Maya survived long enough to ask one question again and again. "Are my kids okay?" They were not. She passed away hours later. Investigators found no evidence of mental collapse, no substances, no psychosis. This was calculated, a final act of control. The case ignited national outrage and renewed calls to recognize coercive control as real, lethal violence. Maya and her children were buried together. Her brother's final words echoed what so many felt: "I'm sorry we didn't stop him."